Rochelle at the Athlete Center. This is a video going over a hip hinge variation. So a hip hinge with a shift with the goal to be able to load into the posterior hip joint. So the back of your hip and the capsule and the deep muscles that are here. So we're trying to get our hip to go into that space. So it's gonna start off like a high hinge, a high Romanian deadlift. So we're gonna have our rib cage over our pelvis, and we're gonna connect this. We wanna try to isolate the movement to be at our hips and pelvis without too much compensation through the back. Not that it's a bad thing, but we might not achieve the goal of the exercise if we have a lot of movement occurring here instead of here. So we're gonna start by stacking this. We're gonna have a soft bend in our knee. We're gonna send our hips back. And now I'm opening up my right lateral hip. I'm gonna do that by sending my left knee over my middle toes and drawing my pelvis around to the left so that it's coming around my body and the inside of my pelvis is now facing to the right. So I'll show this from the side. We're in our hip hinge position. My right leg is not moving. My left one is gonna shift forward. My left knee is gonna shift forward, which brings my pelvis around, and I come into relative hip internal rotation on this right side. So I'm gonna stay in my hinge and I'm gonna do repetitions. This time I'm gonna open up my left side by gliding my right. So my right knee is gonna come forward until I feel a bit of a stretch or a loading in the back of my left hip, and then come back. So I'm just doing this sliding forward of the right. I'm not going up and down. We want to maintain this hinge and wrap our pelvis around. So it's almost as if I have something balancing back here and I'm trying to dump it off that side. So I'm staying stable through my left knee and hip. My right one slides forward, and that allows me to open up my left side. I'll show from the front again. So I'm gonna go back into my hinge. This time I'm gonna open up my right hip by sliding my left one forward, and I'm going into internal rotation on the right side. So this space here is closing as my pelvis wraps around my right femur. And that's a high hip hinge with a hip shift to create internal rotation.